Tavi, let's talk about Look Back.
Yes, look back.
So you pointed me out to this film.
Mm-hmm.
It's currently on Amazon Prime, so I got to watch
Mm-hmm.
it for free, which is how streaming works.
It's not
But
really. You just got to pay the
shut
subscription.
up. Uh, but I noticed it is from the based on the manga by Tatsuki Fujimoto, who is also the creator
Uh-huh.
of Chainsaw Man. And
Mm-hmm.
just reading that, I can't believe I didn't notice it while watching the actual movie. Because yeah, the character designs are pretty reminiscent of Chainsaw Man.
Yeah. And also the characters what? The
Fujino
characters' names.
and
Yeah,
Kyomoto. So
that's it. So
squish them
they're yeah.
together, you got Fujimoto.
And he's made himself female characters, I guess. So he must think he's yeah.
You can
There you go.
identify however you like, Tavi. It's 2024. Come on, buddy.
That's true. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
the plot of this anime it's about two at the start they're junior high school girls. Fujino is a manga artist for her school newsletter, so she does like the 4-panel cartoons, and is her cartoons are really popular within her student body. But then suddenly she gets a request from her teacher to give one section of the comic strip to a girl named Kyomoto. At first, Fujino
Yes.
is hesitant about it, but then she lets it slide. And then she finds out that Kyomoto is an amazing artist, even better than herself, perhaps. So the two characters are drawn together through a love of drawing manga.
That's right. Yeah. I'd heard about this manga for a little while. When I was browsing Bezos Land, and I saw that there was this like one shot manga called Look Back, and I liked the premise of it because I was always interested in like the idea of what goes behind like a manga production, or what it's like to draw manga.
A lot of crunch, it seems.
Yeah, a lot of crunch and thankless rewards.
A lot of
but,
not bathing, it seems.
a lot of losing your friends. Which is kind of true. I mean, like me being in a similar field, I don't think I've sacrificed that many friends, but maybe that's because that's a big reason why I haven't hit it big, because I haven't cut off my friends yet.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
who
yeah.
knows?
So I mean, you're
and I bathe too much.
yeah, that's definitely never been your problem, Tavi. No, so you are referring to Fujino. At first, she is kind of inspired by a competitiveness in her to become better at drawing because Kyomoto is so good at drawing. But the more time she devotes to drawing, the more distant she gets from her friends. And her friends start complaining about it, and her family as well. So yeah, I guess the same can be kind of said for any kind of creative endeavor or anything that you really need to devote 100% of yourself to.
But
Right?
especially true in the creative fields, though. It's like it's relatable in the sense that if you are any form of Asian person and you are trying to get into a field that involves creativity, there's always pushback, like without a shadow of a doubt. There's encouragement at first when you're a kid.
Yeah.
It's always like, oh, like, you did some pretty good drawings and stuff. That's cool. Like, you've got some skill. Whether some of that is genuine or that is just, encouraging your child. Because, not everyone's a Hayao Miyazaki where they're just like, looks pretty shit. But like, there's always going to be a point where when you get older, you're still chasing your dream of being that creative. You will get some pushback because it's like, well, you're getting older now. Don't you want to do something that's going to, be worth more your time?
Yeah, why don't you take up karate like an adult?
yeah, that's true. Karate
What a
seems to be
ridiculous, why should you give up drawing to do karate? How are
Hey man,
either
there's
of
a
those?
lot of jobs out there for karate teachers,
I suppose so.
Yeah, that's true. Was that like her sister?
The audacity of her sister to be like, why don't you quit your dreams, your ridiculous dreams of being an artist? Why don't you be a dojo master like me?
A dojo master is like, just go challenge people or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no, but I'd heard about it, and then I heard that it was an anime, so I didn't know that they were developing this short one-shot manga as an anime. So I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. And then it had a lot of like positive buzz over it when it came out. So I was very interested to like see it. It did come to the cinemas in Australia, but we were overseas, so we didn't get a chance to watch it. And I think there was a big issue because of the length of the film, where most people will complain it's too long. This is too short.
It's only 58 minutes. In Sydney, you'd be paying $25 for that ticket. For
yeah.
That's 50 cents per minute, almost.
Yeah. But I mean, like, for what it's worth, like those 58 minutes is great. I really liked this story a lot, and it took a direction which I did not expect at all.
Oh yeah,
like. I was really surprisingly gut punched and mesmerized.
We will save that for spoilers. But yes, very affecting.
Yeah, this anime, it's like, it's kind of starts off as to what I was expecting, and then until that point where like, damn man, that's Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And surprisingly like dark at a point. Because I remember, like, I'm on the wiki now. It's a coming of age drama, and then I remember seeing horror thriller. I'm like, what? Because I know it was from the creator of Chainsaw Man.
Yeah.
But I'm like, how does this like really sweet looking manga, like based on the creative arts and based on like a personal story that's probably semi autobiographical. But yeah, it's...
But anime can do that. Anime can often blend genres together, and even genres that are completely different. But yeah, you're right. Like, it does start as a very sweet coming-of-age story. We're introduced to our probably main character, Fujino. Thing that strikes me about Fujino, she's not great. She's not a great person. She's pretty flawed of a main character.
Well, it's kind of like Denji as well. Like, Denji is also not a great person. So that's kind of like, that seems to be like Tatsuki's like trademark, making protagonists that are kind of unlikable, but they become likable by the end, or they're empathetic, which is kind of a risky choice, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of good in a way because, most people are flawed. So I guess making the characters have realistic flaws is a good way to have them resonate with the audience. In this movie's case, Fujino, she displays... first she displays arrogance because her comic strip is so beloved, and people keep telling her she's very talented. She can do anything she wants. But then she displays jealousy when she finds out that Kyomoto is actually a really good artist.
There's always that one kid in any movie that's always like, you know the bit where there's the comparison and the classmates are like saying, this
that
one
that
kid's
boy,
like,
he's like, your drawings look pretty average compared to Kyomoto's. Just that one ratty kid.
It's just like so mean. And it like just haunts Fujino for like pretty much the rest of her time. It's like, fuck man. Like,
it's really funny when she replays that in her mind, because it's like slightly exaggerated as well. And like the background of it is kind of like the colors are all warped and stuff. It's really funny.
It's so mean. It's really funny.
It like zooms in on his mouth. It's like,
it's like, your drawings look like an amateur compared to Kyomoto's. And it's just like, it's obviously there to push the sense of doubt into Fujino, but like, and whether kids are actually that mean in real life, kids
I don't think
I've ever had my friends say that my drawings were that bad. Maybe it was for the better, because it's like, I think I kind of knew that I was a shit drawer, because I actually wanted to be a mangaka when I was in high school.
Yeah.
But
you got sassed by someone and then you gave up.
No, I didn't get sassed, unfortunately.
You just gave up on your own.
I just gave up.
Like a man,
I just realized, I'm not very good at drawing.
Yeah,
so,
and that's what almost happens to Fujino. She, initially spurred on by the challenge, she starts to try to get good at drawing. But then, she gets to a point where she's tried really hard, but the gap hasn't hasn't gotten any smaller. Kyomoto's drawings still surpass hers. So she's on the verge of giving up. Well, she does give up for a time. So like, yeah, it's like a very realistic trajectory for an aspiring artist, I think, because there's always going to be someone better than you, right?
Yeah, I really like that actually, because it's true. Because sometimes, no matter how hard you try, there's always a Tarantino that's just ahead of the game at you, who's just like, they're
it's
just
like,
better.
I like the Joker too, actually. Yeah, he's so ahead of the game, Darby.
So it's ahead of the game, yeah. It's a fuck you to Hollywood and a fuck you to... yeah, you can look forward to that episode with our special super fan.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I sort of mentioned, like, because preceding that scene where she decides to give, she tries like really hard to learn. She like gets all these books and takes drawing, manga quite seriously. That's when she starts getting, or she starts neglecting her friends and they start giving her shit for it. But there's always that scene where like characters are trying to draw really hard and then it just looks really their expression, and it comes twice in this where it's just like drawing is like agony or something. And I just find those frames really funny for some reason, because it's kind of like if I'm like editing or something and I'm just like screaming at the screen, which I often do.
Do you? But it's not in agony. I'm not sure I do. I think I've just got this slack-jawed expression on my face when I'm editing.
No, I tend to curse. I probably shouldn't say this, but like, there's just something that happens to you in the edit suite when you're watching scenes over and over again, and then you just find like things that are wrong with it, like little things or little performance nuances that kind of irk you.
Right.
Why'd you make that stupid face?
I know exactly what you mean, Tavi. Recently, I actually got married, right? You were there. You saw.
Did you? Yeah. I guess so. Yeah.
Recently, we got our wedding photos back, right? And, when you get married, you hire like a nice photographer at a price, right? So we got these photos back. And we're looking through them and we're like finding all these nice photos. And then there's like a really nice group photo of all of the wedding guests. And then I like look closely at the photo. I'm like, what's that next to my dad's leg? And then I zoom in to the photo, and it's like a plastic water bottle like next to his leg. Like this beautiful Japanese garden. And then my dad's just got this plastic, like garish looking water bottle next to it. And then I look at his face and he's got this like angelic smile on his face. I'm like, Dad.
Yeah. There you go. It was humid, man. Yeah, it was hot. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, this is a very unceremonious way to declare that you're a married man now. So
yeah,
good on you.
It's not a big deal. Don't even worry about it.
Don't even worry about it. Yeah, that's why we went to Japan, because you got married. But yeah, I didn't also just stay there for a month to just like fuck around.
Yeah, we'll talk about it, Darby. It'll come up in our video game Let's Play. But yes, back to look back. So yeah, the character of Fujino is pretty flawed. Let's talk about Kyomoto though. So Kyomoto is introduced as a shut-in, a hikikomori at the start of the show. So you don't actually get to see her for maybe like 10 minutes of runtime. When you do meet Kyomoto, you find out that she is actually a super fan of Fujino. And Fujino's cartoons are what inspired Kyomoto to practice drawing. And it just happens that she has social anxiety, so she can't leave the house. And that has given her the time to practice drawing, which explains the difference in skill level. But yeah, the two become fast friends and begin to work on a manga together.
And they kind of like live together for a point. And then there's like this really like very nice montage of them just becoming friends.
What do you think about the artwork in this?
Yeah, I really like the animation in this movie is excellent. Like, there's a very clear, distinct art style to portray like what Fujino is drawing. She makes like a lot of very silly kind of 4-panel animes, whereas like Kyomoto doesn't draw people at all, but she's really good at capturing that like the background of life and that kind of thing. But just the general animation, I think it's fantastic. Like, it truly remains that like 2D for me, 2D animation is the way it goes.
Yeah.
Like it's just like beautiful to look at, and I think it really tells the story quite well.
Yeah, especially in the detail of some of the backgrounds in the anime, right? Like it really captures, because it's set in like a rural Japanese town. It really captures that countryside vibe. Just in very specific details of the scenery, I guess. Things like their schoolyard and their classroom, and just the I guess the suburban areas that they're walking around in, and even like the clutter of their bedroom where they're working on their manga. Like that's, all of that achieves that charm of countryside Japan.
I think that after spending time in Japan, you can really see how stories like this and how important attention to detail really is. Like there's a lot of stuff that you don't have to do, but adding that just adds to like really the soul of the story.
It's everything, I think. You see it in works like by Makoto Shinkai as well. Like you can tell the artist really knows what they're trying to draw, like in the intimate details. And I think that's really, really important when you're trying to tell a story like this, a story that feels very personal, is to get all of the intimate details in the art.
Yeah. And what I was surprised about this anime is because I read that it was about like the struggles of being like a mangaka and stuff, but I was pretty pleasantly surprised that it's done in a pretty subtle way. It's not the usual, like there's a boss who's saying like, I need you to get 20 drawings done in like an hour or something. I was like, oh, fuck. Yeah. So it wasn't, surprisingly not as like hard hitting in that sense. It didn't make me feel like super depressed. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of presented as more like a matter of fact, I guess.
Yeah. Where it's like, there's a bit where I think, jumping a bit forward, like they have like the manga, they've been serialized, and it's like showing the graphs and it's showing like the popularity stages. It go down and it goes up and it goes down. And I thought, oh, that's like pretty cool. It's not just like up all the time and then a downward spiral or whatever, as like most movies would portray in that sense. But like before that, they are working on this anime serial. And they're trying to get it like published, and they end up winning like a notoriety like prize or something.
They come runner up, I think. In Jump magazine of some kind.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so that's really like great for them. And then there's a really cute sequence of them just like exploring Tokyo and just having fun in Tokyo. And especially since you and I have just come back, it's like, oh man, like I wish I was doing that again. Like it's just a lot of fun.
I wish I had 100,000 yen in Tokyo.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, actually, I kind of did live that life a little bit because, in our episode, we could talk about my reckless spending at a point.
I saw the photos. You're living your best life there. But because they are such young characters as well, like you do feel like that childlike sense of joy, I guess, from achieving something. Like they're one step closer to their dreams. And they've done it together as a team, as a pair of friends. And also they've got 100K to spend in Tokyo. So that's pretty good as well.
That could get you pretty far, man.
They only spend the 5,000. They went on a night in the town and they only spent 5,000 yen, Tabi, Japan.
Yeah, that's not surprising. Yeah, imagine that. It's like, oh, in Australia, I got this money. And then it's like they go one place after an hour. It's like, oh, got nothing. I've got nothing. Oh, man. Fucking cost of living in Australia, man. Jesus Christ. Anyway, I'll complain about that in that episode. But there's kind of a point where it's still like, they get picked to make like a Sharkman manga or Shark Attack or Shark Kicks or something. So it's obviously like a little homage to Chainsaw Man. But it's a shark. But like, because at this point, Fujino is like the story and character person, and Kiyomoto does all the backgrounds. But Kiyomoto wants to be like, she wants to go to art school.
She wants to hone her craft rather than working for Fujino, I guess.
Yeah. Which is like, I think that's fine. And Fujino doesn't really take that too well. And she tries to dissuade like Kyomoto that
she's a
like
bit of
her
a
social
jerk.
anxiety is gonna get the better of her and stuff.
Yeah.
And that she won't survive, but Kyomoto does it anyway. And then that's when we see that montage of Fujino becoming a successful mangaka.
Yep.
And there's no point in the show where she is declining in her career. She's always like doing well, which I think is a different spin on it because it goes in another fucking direction that I did not expect. But that's a major spoiler.
Yeah.
And that really took me back. So like, I don't know, is there anything you want to say before we
I guess
go on
before
to
we
that?
get into spoilers, maybe the music deserves a mention.
Yeah.
So good. Again, like the scenery and the art, the music conveys a certain mood, and in the front half of the film, that mood is really pleasant. Like all of the musical beats hit. It's mostly like piano. It was something I guess you would hear from like a Makoto Shinkai
like
film.
a Makoto
It's like
Shinkai.
Radwimps-esque.
Yeah. It's like a pretty, like, the music is good, but it's quite like standard
It's
of
generic.
like anime
It's
to
a
make
bit generic. Yeah.
Like, to be honest, I didn't really think about the music
Nah,
that
but
much.
I think
Like,
it does
I think
hit the
it's good.
emotional beats that it needs to.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, I think you're definitely worth a watch, especially if you're into slice of life anime. Beautiful looking movie. I don't really have anything negative to say about it.
Yeah, I think it's probably the best anime movie I've seen this year so far. I actually haven't seen too much anime movies. I've been watching, I mean, ever since like going to Japan and stuff, I've been introduced to some like new weirder animes like Oshinoko, which I'll probably watch at some point, and been watching Dandadan, which I really am enjoying at the moment.
Yeah, you and every other person.
Yeah,
Very popular anime.
and watching the first episode of Uzumaki, which we might still do a review on, but I'm really scared to watch the next 3 episodes. I mean, have you heard anything about that?
I haven't watched any of it. I've only heard what you've told me. Apparently, the animation quality declines rapidly.
I'm so afraid because I don't want to face the truth that Uzumaki, after 5 years of anticipation, is just another garbage Junji Ito adaptation. It's not making me too sad, Dan.
We'll have to get to it at some point, Tavi. We'll have to rip that Band-Aid off. Yeah.
Oh, man. Like, we wanted to do it for Halloween, but I'm just like, yeah. I mean, if we were professionals, we would have done it by now.
I don't think it was out,
like,
fully out by then, right?
No, it wasn't actually, no. But there could have been ways we watched it, if, backdoor ways. But it's another...
You don't want Nintendo to come after us, Tavi. Even though they've got nothing to do with that anime, they'll probably come up after us regardless.
Yeah. We can never cover any Nintendo products. Even just us talking about Nintendo is, yeah. But
let's talk spoilers for Look Back. So here are the spoilers, guys. You've been warned. Kyomoto gets killed.
Fucking hell.
Jesus.
That was jeez. I was so like surprised that this happened.
Yeah.
Because it is definitely, I don't know if this was an intentionally
dark turn,
because it's obviously there's the tragedy that happened at Kyoto Animations. But it's also falls in line to the tragedy that happened in Yokohama at the time that we were living there, where one of the guys kind of just went on a crazy stabbing spree. But what happens is that there's a mass stabbing from a guy who assumes that, like, his grief was that he thought someone stole or plagiarized his artwork or something. And then it's just like, damn, that's heavy.
So he went to the arts college and stabbed a lot of students, one of them being Kyomoto. And Fujino hears about this on the news, tries to call Kyomoto. Obviously, it doesn't go through. And then she receives the news from her mother that Kyomoto has died.
Yeah. Like, for me, like, I'm all about like traumatizing your kids because like they need to be. But this movie is a PG rated film, right?
Yeah.
And for this like really sudden dark turn, I have a feeling whoever was rating this show was probably watched the first. It's like, oh yeah, it's nice. There's some mean words in there, but yeah, it's PG. It's animations for kids.
I think what I think what saves it is that nothing is explicitly shown. Like you hear about it on the news, and that's about the extent that it goes to, right? Like you don't.
But it's so I guess it is like you would need like a parental. I guess in its sense, it does deserve the PG rating because a younger kid watching this, it's like, what happened? It's like, well, yeah, like where would you start? Because it's quite horrific.
It's a dark way to kill off one of the main characters in your story.
Yeah.
In this story that is really light at the start.
I was just like, damn. But this is, I mean, it's Chainsaw Man creator, you know? It's gonna kind of happen.
Yeah. So yeah, this tragedy causes Fujino to obviously do some introspection. The last time that she saw Kyomoto, the words exchanged were not very kind. And she eventually blames herself for Kyomoto's death. She eventually arrives at Kyomoto's house and she starts to think, like if I hadn't have convinced Kyomoto to leave the house in the first place and join me in this mangaka endeavor, then she would never have gone to art school and she would never have been killed.
Yeah.
So then weirdness starts to happen.
I mean, like there's a little bit of a plot device where, and that happens earlier in the film where when Fujino comes across like Kiyomoto's place and she realizes that she's a hikikomori, she sees like a empty blank 4 panel, and then she draws like a little cartoon that's kind of berating Kiyomoto as a shut-in, and then she drops it, and then it like falls underneath the door crack, which is surprisingly happens more than you think, actually. But this is what initially sparks Kiyomoto to go out and meet Fujino because she's been such a fan of her work. So cut back to this present moment in the film. What happens is she realizes that Kiyomoto has been reading one of the Shark Attack. Is it Shark Attack or is it Shark Kick?
Shark Kick, I think.
Shark Kick. She's been reading one of the Shark Kick volumes, and Kiyomoto's used the 4 panel as a bookmark, and then she just rips it up. It's like, it's all my fault. She's got like not really survivor's guilt, but just guilt, I guess. And then she drops it, and it does the same thing, goes underneath the door. And then we get that kind of unexplained magical realism aspect where the slip of paper, the top bit of it, like goes underneath the door and it says like, don't come out or something like that. You'd have to watch it. But then this changes a perspective in an in a multiverse. Oh my God, Look Back just ripped off Marvel. Oh my God.
That's good. We can put those in the tags now and people will find us better.
Marvel. So Look Back ripped off Marvel. Cool. Anyway, so it creates this new multiverse. So we can multiverse for the algorithm. She loves that. So it opens a new Marvel multiverse cinematic actions in a it's this parallel story.
And then Iron Man rocks up and
but then he's actually Dr. Doom. But it goes into this point of view where Kiyomoto does not leave the room, and then she's like, Fujino just rushes out, and so it must have just been a ghost. But Kiyomoto still gets over her like hikikomori-ness. She's still a bit of a shut-in, but she decides to go to art school. But then we see that incident where she's just like, painting something in her art school, like painting the wall or whatever. And there's this pretty it's a very intense, for this show, for this anime, it is quite a tense scene where we do see the killer, and it's pretty frightening. Just like a lot of the shots that they use and just the mood and like the use of shadows and stuff. I was like, oh man, this is like, I mean, of course I'm not scared by it, but like for someone who's watching this that's quite young, would feel quite threatened by this man who's carrying like a pickaxe or something like that, and is just,
and because we're primed with the knowledge that in an alternate reality, Kyomoto was killed by this man. We're obviously expecting something bad to happen next, right? So the events play out, the guy starts to become more and more unhinged. He finally takes a swing at Kyomoto with the pickaxe. He misses, and then he's about to take one final swing, but then Karate Master Fujino comes in and
that's why
rescues
she
her.
chose karate, Dad. That's all it leading. So do you know why
Her sister was
it was
right all
karate?
along.
Because it's fate, Dad. It's fate for her to be a karate master, and it's fate for Kiyomoto. So it's all about that very Japanese fatalist mentality, whether it's like, you know what, if you're not a mangaka, you're gonna be a fucking karate
there are only
master.
two paths set out for you.
She's gonna be a mangaka anyway, because then Kiyomoto's like, oh yeah, thank you for saving my life. Can we exchange phone numbers? And she realizes at that point, you're a Fujino that you like used to make those like 4-panel stuff. And she's like, why did you quit? And she's like, well, actually, I've been working on something new. So there's that whole idea of like, no matter what, I guess, universe, you're destined to be like who you are supposed to be, I suppose. So that was like quite nice.
Yeah, but at the same time, you might not be murdered by a person with a pickaxe. You know?
She still was an artist, but she got murdered by the pickaxe guy.
Kind of like a. Well, I mean, after this turn of events, it does revert back to the reality that we had before, where Kyomoto.
Well, there's another little bit of like time travel, because like it seems to be that the passage between times is Kiyomoto's doorway.
Yeah.
So because like Kiyomoto draws a 4-panel thing of like Fujino like rescuing Kiyomoto, and it's kind of like done in Fujino style, and it comes across back to the present timeline. Oh, fuck, here we go. Multiverse of madness. Oh my God, timelines and shit. And it's like, goes back to the current timeline. And then Fujino doesn't really like question it, but she just picks up. She realizes, I'm doing this, even though, being a mangaka is quite a thankless job. That's the reason why I did this, was so I can inspire people like, Kiyomoto, and she remembers all the good times they have, and it's quite sweet. And it's basically the end of the anime, right? Like she goes back to her like kind of soul-crushing job of being a mangaka.
The credits roll as she works a 12-hour shift, presumably. With no breaks.
But yeah, no, it's portrayed in like a lovely manner still. Like at the end of the day, she's still doing what she loves doing, even though that she may have lost her motivation for it.
And her karate skills.
At the end, she's got no karate skill this time, so she can't rescue anyone. But no,
it is a bittersweet ending.
I
think that the ending is effective in tugging at your heartstrings even more, because it shows a possibility of what could have been, I guess.
I liked that the story went through a pretty dark tone. And I think a lot of anime, even anime for kids, tends to go heavy when it can, to contrast it. And it can be like quite weird, because there's nothing to explain the time travel at all.
Right, yeah.
And I actually really like that it's not explained, because you're kind of always pressured to explain it. I think that's like a Western writing style, because I know for a fact that if this was a treatment, or if this was like a demo script, and you would hand it to some friends, and then people will say like, so why did this happen? Like, I don't get it, so I don't like it. So, and it's just like, but that's not really the point of the story. Like, the point of it is like, don't give up on your dreams. Whether I guess that's the main like crux of the message. Your dream might be a soul crushing manga artist, but I think he even knows, Tatsuki knows that he's doing what he loves, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think the message is pretty strong, and like you said, I think the supernatural elements don't really need to be explained. I think that's the freedom of anime, is you can just do weird shit without having to explain yourself.
yeah.
But I had a thought about the ending of Look Back. I was thinking about it, and what if none of that actually happened, Tavi?
Do you think it's all in is it the typical it's all in Fujimoto's
Yeah, what if
head?
everything that happens after Fujino goes to Kyomoto's house and rips up that 4-panel, causing the shreds to go under the door and into the past, which causes Kyomoto to not leave the house and ultimately leads to Fujino saving her with a karate kick.
Yeah.
What if all of that was just a story that Fujino concocted in her mind to deal with the guilt she felt over Kyomoto's death?
Yeah, I mean, it could be, but knowing Japanese creatives with parallel worlds and traveling through time and regret and whatnot, I feel like that's what you see is what you're getting. There's just some magical reason that they're going back in time, and it's not explained.
I mean, that's what I'd like to believe, but I was thinking about it, and there are a number of clues to suggest the dark ending.
Oh, really?
So,
all right, what are these clues, Dan?
First of all, like the whole parallel world situation, as lovely as it is really abrupt, right? Like it introduces supernatural elements to an otherwise grounded story, right? We've never really gotten a hint of anything magical throughout the film up to that point. But what we did get a lot of was Fujino coming up with a story and us as the audience going into the story to experience it firsthand. You know, she does this at the start with her story about the guy that gets reincarnated as a meteor. And it even happens when she like sketches that story about Kyomoto winning the Hikikomori championships, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's one clue. The second clue is like when we see the events that lead up to Fujino saving Kyomoto from the pickaxe guy play out, there are captions inserted into the frame, you know? Like a student sits on the sofa for a break. She hears a metallic knocking sound from outside. So these captions, they're similar to the captions she uses in her 4-panel mangas, right? Or in manga in general. That she's so it's like kind of like indicating that it's more like comic book style narration. Whereas we never see any captions during like the scenes that are quote unquote real. You know what I mean? And the third and final clue, Tavi, once Fujino saves Kyomoto from the pickaxe guy, right? Kyomoto goes home and reads goes back and reads the 4 panels that Fujino drew as a middle schooler. And then she like smiles because of the art that got her interested in art in the first place, right?
Yeah.
And then Kyomoto takes out a blank 4 panel and draws a little comic strip that cutely depicts a scene from the day that Fujino saves Kyomoto with the karate kick. And then the 4 panel flies out of her hand from the wind and gets swept under the door, and then enters the alternate dimension where Fujino discovers it. Fujino reads the 4 panel, and the thought of Kyomoto being alive in some way in some other world gives Fujino the strength to carry on and get back to her work. But here's the thing, Tavi, that 4 panel that Kyomoto drew isn't drawn in Kyomoto's art style, right? It's drawn in Fujino's art style. And of course, we're led to believe that this is because alternate Kyomoto was paying homage to Fujino, right? But we've never seen her draw like that before. So what if it's because Fujino drew it herself? You know what I mean? Like what if in her guilt-ridden state, she created this fiction in her mind and drew the comic herself as like a coping mechanism for her own grief over Kyomoto's death? That's like the darker interpretation of this story, I guess. And I think Fujimoto might have tricked us into believing the nice ending. Yeah, well, because like she goes back home, she goes back to work, and the credits play as she's working, but it's like to this nice song, right? Yeah. But it's a pretty bleak ending. Even if you accept the alternate dimension theory, like she just goes back to work, you know what I mean? Yeah. So,
well, I was actually thinking that it's like, she does draw the drawing in like her, Kiyomoto does it in Fujino style, which I thought was weird. And like, I'm pretty sure that the ending is like, it is a little bit bleak in a sense that she is just going to go back to like, overworking herself. So it's not quite like happily ever after. But I feel like that like bleaker ending probably undermines what the movie is trying to say or the atmosphere that the movie is trying to evoke, which maybe Tatsuki was trying to do that. But if he did, then he failed at that because it's supposed to be a nice movie. Whether or not he comes out of the woodworks and he's like, haha, I tricked you all. It's actually like
I'm not overly familiar with his work. Like I've watched a bit of Chainsaw Man, but he, from what I've seen in Chainsaw Man, it does kind of subvert pleasant atmosphere sometimes in place for like darker content, I guess.
Yeah.
So
But I think that's just there more for like contrast's sake rather than just like because it does subvert the nice anime trope, but I think what brings it back is that it still goes back to its core as being like a nice movie, even though the ending might be a little bit bleak if you want to interpret it that way. But yeah, I have a feeling you're probably just reading too much into it.
yeah, okay.
Because if you ask most directors,
yeah.
like a lot of this shit just kind of happens by coincidence, but
Okay.
they'll probably never admit it. You'll probably be like, oh yeah, I thought about this theory, and then the director goes, oh, actually that's smart, I'm going to take that theory
yeah.
and run it
You
as
sound
if
like
I
you've
thought
done that
about it."
before, Tavi.
Yeah, I haven't done that before. It's like, yeah,
I know what you mean. Like often the audience does read into things more than perhaps the creatives behind them. But I don't know. I feel like the clues are there, and I think both endings are effective in a way because like the subversive ending as well is kind of like it's a pretty clever con if that's what he was doing. Like make us feel good about this horrific thing that's happened. But then if you choose to believe the magical ending, that's nice as well. I think that's a pretty solid ending too. So I think both interpretations of the ending work. But I'm just interested to see if.
I wonder. I mean, I haven't really seen any fan theory like analyses of Look Back. So, I mean, I wonder if there's anyone out there that shares that opinion. And I'm always into like dark, cynical endings, but like I think sometimes maybe the happy ending is just a happy ending, I suppose. And I think if there was an intention to do that, and maybe the director of the anime is just like, nah, that's like, I don't want people to feel like shit after watching my movie. So let's just leave it as a nice ending. Yeah. It is definitely like a bit of a whiplash, but I haven't read the manga, so who knows? Maybe the manga is bleaker.
I mean, I was just trying to think of another kind of movie that tricked us into feeling good about the ending when objectively it's terrible, but I couldn't really think of a movie. I'm sure there are examples out there. Leave it in the comments if you can think of one.
I think there's definitely movies where I've watched. I'm like, that's not a happy ending at all.
Source Code comes to mind, but
Source Code, There's I can't, like, my mind's drawing a blank at the moment, but I've definitely seen movies where it's just like, I don't think that's very happy or something like that. Just can't think of it. I'm sure people in the comments can put it in there and
help us out.
It'll come to us
because we will not be looking it up.
And you are not going to be reading any Tatsuki manga.
Probably not. Honestly, probably not. I'll watch Chainsaw Man. That's my commitment to him. But yes, back to Look Back. Yeah, like I think it's a really affecting story, and they do a lot with the 58 minutes. I think like it's an emotional roller coaster. Beautiful movie, I'd say.
Yeah. I wish it was longer, to be honest. an hour and a half would have been nice. Yeah. I think an hour and a half is the sweet spot for like most movies.
Where would you put that extra runtime though?
You can explain why the time jump.
The architects can rock up and exposition you about why it's happening. Concurrently.
I mean, it's like I wouldn't have. I'm not sure plot wise what you could add, but you could still like take your time a bit, maybe just,
I guess maybe more character moments between Fujino and
just more like
Kyomoto would have been nice.
More meandering, because I kind of like meandering in movies, but people are always really afraid to do that in films as well, because it's like this isn't pushing the plot forward. But sometimes like it's just nice to watch characters be characters and just live in the space.
Well, I'm guessing it's pretty. I'm guessing it's pretty true to the manga that it's based on.
Yeah. I don't think the manga is very long. It's really short, so
I don't think there's anything wrong with a 58-minute movie. It's fine.
Yeah,
I paid $25 for it.
You paid $25.
The cinema is making more money because they can fit in more sessions.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. They're not making a lot with Megalopolis. Isn't that like a 3-hour movie?
Yeah, also nobody's watching it, Tavi. But that's beside the point.
It's already out on streaming now, isn't it? Or something?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Can't wait to watch it.
I do want to see it. Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah.
All right. Do we have anything more to say about Look Back?
Yeah. No, go check it out. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful story, and probably one of the better just general animated features that have come out this year. What else have I seen this year that's animated? Minions. That's the only other animated movie.
I saw a French one recently. I forget what it's called though.
Is it Robot Dreams? That's French.
Not that one. A different French one.
Is it The Wild Robot? Oh no, it's like, is it the one about the turtle?
It's the one
or
that
some
looks
shit?
really Ghibli-esque. Sirocco and the Kingdom of Winds.
Yeah, I heard that one is good. Yeah, I think I know that one. Yeah, I do want to watch it, but yeah. Anyway, check out Look Back. I think it's great. It's a pretty simple story that takes some pretty dark turns, but it's not like, if you're scared of horror movies, you're not gonna freak out over it unless you are really like the softest person in the world. Anyway.
All right, let's move on then, shall we?